Welcome back to school, everybody. I am Tom Gallas, and along with my partners and 100 employees, we're here to welcome Mayor Bowser, Deputy Mayor John Falchicchio, Councilmember Brianne Nadeau, and ANC Chair James Turner, as well as all of you friends and neighbors and colleagues, to this wonderful day of celebration. We're privileged to share this building with the African American Civil War Museum and its founder and director, Frank Smith, and our newest neighbors, the Malala Fund, and also we come here with the memory of the tens of thousands of students who came to school here many, many years ago. We'd also like to thank our partners who had important roles in getting us here. Grant Epstein and Mwangi Gathinji at Community 3 Development, thank you. Erica Pentillo and Spencer Sear of OTJ Interior Architects, thank you. John Leach from HBW, our general contractors, thank you. And Sarah Alexander, our partner, who shepherded our build-out through this very complex year of COVID with lots of twists and turns, thank you. Thank you all very much for getting us to this point. For years, we've looked for opportunities to relocate our headquarters in the district. We could have not have gotten here without you, Mayor, your foresight and courage, and your team, who wouldn't let this go. And we wouldn't either. That's right. And that's how we roll. And also the support of the neighborhood and the ANC. Very important, and we appreciate your support. Thank you all very much for helping us realize our dreams. I stand here today with great pride to celebrate the relocation of our headquarters from Maryland, and to also recognize the contributions of our firm that we had already made in the District of Columbia prior to moving to this beautiful new home, having designed over 15,000 residential units in the district, and with over 5,000 of those as affordable housing units. We are passionate about designing buildings and neighborhoods that enhance the urban environment, and we're committed to improving communities throughout the District of Columbia and across the country. One of the things that makes Torti Gallas so special is our commitment to designing high-quality, mixed-income, and mixed-use neighborhoods. As catalysts of transformation, we've helped to revitalize many quality neighborhoods in the city, starting right here in the U Street corridor with the design of the Ellington at 13th and U over 20 years ago. And since then, we've designed similarly transformative projects in every ward in the city. And we're very, very proud of that. Through doing so much community revitalization work in the city, we've learned over the years to not only think about the design quality of our award-winning places that we have completed, but also about the impact our work is having on the neighborhoods and the longtime residents who live in them. Looking back on our past work, some of these revitalization efforts have involved displacement of residents and the erasure of the history, the culture, and traditions of the people who live in them. We've learned a lot from this past work that now informs our work going forward. One of the neighborhoods we're actively working here in the district that we're most proud of is in Deanwood in Ward 7. We're working with the mayor in partnership and your team and with our private clients, creating neighborhood transformation built upon what we call, and we created this word, adification. Adification means designing quality, affordable housing that adds to the housing stock and economic opportunities without displacing residents. So instead of forcing longtime residents out of their homes and neighborhoods through gentrification, we are adding over 700 high-quality, affordable housing units in 4 separate projects in Deanwood without displacing anyone. This work directly aligns with your initiatives, Mayor, and to grow the stock of affordable housing here in the city, and we are doing it in partnership with you. Thank you. Now, we are taking what we've learned in these past efforts and embarking on the next wave of neighborhood transformations in the city. Another neighborhood that you're very familiar with, Mayor, the Parks at Walter Reed, and also the soon-to-come Armed Forces Retirement Home. We are creating edification communities that include housing for mixed income and mixed lifestyles to add housing for all, creating vibrant neighborhoods from these currently walled-off campuses. As far as we know, there's no other design firm in the city or in the country, as a matter of fact, that works harder at shaping the future of neighborhoods that incorporate people of all incomes than Torti Gallas. So as we embark on this new chapter for Torti Gallas, we are so lucky to be able to live in a building that we helped to lovingly design and renovate, bringing new life and enhanced sustainability to this long-abandoned structure. Every one of our 100 employees is now able to proudly come to work each day across the street from a national memorial and a metro station and be part of a community that we had a hand in strengthening and transforming. Imagine coming to work here every day in a building that represents so much history, sacrifice, and dedication to the idea of equity and freedom. It's a true privilege to be here to help carry on this legacy of making a world a better place. Honestly, it feels like our new home in the district has always been our home. We look forward to becoming great neighbors to those of you who have been living here, working here, and operating your businesses here. We're already supporting many of the small local businesses before, during, and after work hours, and we are honored to join you as part of this exciting arts district in Shaw. Now I'm pleased to introduce the Honorable Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Everybody give a big hand to Tom Gallas. I want to thank Torti Gallas. I've been following you for a long time. Many of you know that I started working in local government as an employee of Montgomery County government. And one thing I learned in Montgomery County government is that they spend a lot of time trying to poach D.C. companies to move to Montgomery County. And we're pleased to report to have Torti Gallas here in Ward 1 in Washington, D.C. And we're also very, very pleased to be here at the beautiful Grimke building. Tom, I don't think that I can say better what you've already said in talking about this building's history as an education center and your partnership with the African American Civil War Museum. I want to acknowledge our former council member, Frank Smith. Give Frank a big round of applause. Our current council member, Brianne Nadeau, give her a big round of applause. As well as our ANC Commissioner, James Turner. Thank you for being here as well. This is a proud moment for all of us. We came together in the fall of 2019 for the groundbreaking. And I remember hearing from the team at Torti Gallas how the site was going to help them do something that they've wanted to do for a long time. And that is finally marry their headquarters with a city that they have helped just to design so beautifully. So I can brag on you a little bit because you've described some of the projects that you've been involved with. And we just appreciate how your design sense stays the same no matter where you're working. That is always highly beautiful, and it makes sense for the neighborhoods that it's placed in, so it becomes a part of the texture of the community. So we couldn't have foreseen on that groundbreaking day what would happen in our city and our country during the lockdown and the shutdown experience. I'm so pleased that you were able to continue working so that you could deliver this project. And there was also a question about whether cities would remain popular destinations. And some still ask that question. And I have to tell you, and I think everybody around here and around us today agrees, that never bet against cities. Don't bet against cities. You can't bet against cities. We have the transportation, walkability, we have the workforce that's needed, and we have the strength of our diversity. And we know that strength is what makes Washington, D.C. so strong and so unique. And what I also like to say is we have what we need to get over this pandemic and to come out on the other side stronger and more equal. Don't you agree? Because DC taxpayers are committed. They are committed to staying invested in our schools, in our public safety, investing in our small businesses, and investing in our diversity. I was just out in the community the other day, in Deanwood, as a matter of fact, and I remember just thinking to myself, there was one commissioner after the other that came up to ask me questions, kind of like we'll do after this. And I said, commissioners, we haven't been in person in a long time for community meetings, and people that they want to talk to their officials. So now we know that we're in a place where people are coming back together. Zoom's okay, but it's not everything. And that's why it's so important that we have beautiful places like this for our workers to return to. We've worked very hard to get DC open. Our residents have done all of the things that our public health officials have recommended to keep us safe. They continue to do that by getting vaccinated and wearing masks, and we continue to get open. I want to thank the entire team at Torti Gallas. After 70 years in Maryland, we are proud to welcome you to your forever home in Washington, D.C. And I know many of your team members already live here. Others will live here in Washington, D.C. We welcome you. And we will be back in a few months as well to celebrate the new housing in the new African American Civil War Museum. So this project has indeed been long in coming. We're grateful that it helps us achieve a lot of our economic development goals, including attracting good paying jobs, building affordable housing, and investing in the culture with the African American Civil War Museum. I want to thank my team at DMPED, Deputy Mayor Falchicchio. You'll hear from Sarosh Opodwala, who is the Director of Real Estate, all of our housing agencies who will be involved, DCRA, and everyone who has been involved in the permitting process. And of course, our commission, who has been actively involved and stays actively involved with all the projects on the U Street corridor. So with that, thanks again. Welcome to DC, and let me introduce your council member, Brianne Nadeau.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser, for your steadfast support of this project, which has been going on so long that when it was first bid out, I was on the ANC, which may not seem that long ago to some people, but to me, it feels like a lifetime ago. Think about what you were doing back in 2008, 2009, 2010. Someone walked up to me today and said, "That's not so long. We did this project in 6 years." I said, well, it depends on where you start from, right? Because this project has really been in the works a long time. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our ANC commissioners present, Chairman James Turner, SMD Commissioner Dan Orlasky, Amanda Farnan, and Sable Harris, who've all joined us and have worked incredibly hard on this project, as well as the commissioners who came before them, and the Economic Development Committee of the ANC, which is made up of community members who give their time to make the ANC run more efficiently and more professionally, and it's a really important thing here in 1B. And I want to thank so many community members who have been a part of this over the years. It really has been a whole community effort from day one, and I expect no less in Ward 1, because people are incredibly engaged and smart and have the expertise to contribute to these projects, and it just makes me really proud to represent this community. So thank you, those who are able to join us today. We are here because of the work and collaboration of so many leaders, ANC, community leaders, the development team, the tenants that are joining this building. This project is going to be increasing the use of space by the community, including Torti Gallas, a newly imagined home for the museum, performing arts space, and mixed income housing. And I want to note, if I heard John Torti say it once, I heard him say it 100 times. He is so excited to start walking to work. All right. Want to make sure he picks up a coffee from a neighborhood shop on the way, maybe grabs some breakfast and eats it at his desk. Because that's the kind of thing that happens when you put 100 people in an office on a vibrant corridor. They go out, they patronize the businesses, and they really create that daytime foot traffic that we so desperately need in the U Street corridor. And it's not just me who thinks so. We have a small area plan for this part of the community called the Duke Plan. And this project is an anchor for the Duke Plan. This museum is an anchor for the Duke Plan. And we should be really proud that we're not just opening up a one-off building here. We are fulfilling the long-term vision for this neighborhood, for this ward, and for the District of Columbia in a way that is incredibly special. I'm so excited to be here for this. I'm so excited to see the inside. I've heard so many stories about how bad it was in there when we first started. It's going to be amazing. So I was going to give myself 1 minute for every year this project went on. I know, just kidding. I have jokes, but I want to spend just a moment acknowledging the importance and the significance of the African American Civil War Memorial Museum having a permanent home in this space. There has been a lot of change in this community, and it's incredibly important that we build buildings, that we name streets, that we create institutions that acknowledge and recognize the history of our community forever. So all of the people who move here, all of the people who visit here, understand what has been here. This museum connects the past and the future because we have young people from all around the country coming to understand what the role of African Americans was in the Civil War. We are going to have this grand plaza and path connecting to the Lincoln statue. We're going to have school groups coming every week to learn from our former council member and his incredible team at this museum. We're just blocks away from the original garrison where the soldiers were bunked up. I mean, this is really significant stuff. So we're not just cutting a ribbon on an office space, as exciting it is. We're not just cutting a ribbon on a performing arts space, as exciting as it is. And we're not just cutting a ribbon on any old museum. This is really important to our community, present and future. So thank you to Frank Smith, my mentor and friend, for all of his determination and hard work. We're not done yet. We're going to get to cut another ribbon when it's open, but it's been a long path for the museum as much as it's been a long path for this project and this site. Thank you all very much. It's wonderful to be together. And I now would like to introduce the Deputy Mayor, John Falchecchio. Woo!
Well, thank you, Councilmember, and thank you all for gathering. If you'll remember where you were on October 17th, 2019, you were right here. You're right here, or many of you were. You were here because we were breaking ground on this project. And we were also, if you remember back, watching our Nationals in the midst of a playoff run where they would go on to win the World Series. And we celebrated ourselves as the District of Champions, right? So we had the Capitals who had won, the Mystics who had won, and then we would have the Nationals who won. So now, but with all that we've been through over the last few years, what Mayor Bowser says all the time is DC now stands for something different. Do you know what that is? Anyone? Anyone? District, well, that's a good one. Vaccination was set up front. So the District of Comebacks. So we're going to have a collective comeback, and we're going to have individual comebacks. And the way that we're going to do that is with projects just like this one here today. So this project actually represents all that we have to bring back. We have to bring back visitors. In 2019, we had 25 million visitors to the District of Columbia. The museum is going to help us bring visitors right here to U Street. We also need to bring back jobs. Before the pandemic, there were 800,000 jobs. And just like with vaccinations, as was stated up front, we need to make sure that we bring jobs back in the tens and the dozens and in the hundreds. And we're going to do that right here because of Tom's leadership, bring 100 jobs back to the district. And then we also need to, Mayor Bowser has an edification project of her own. The initiative is known as 36,000 by 2025, where we're going to add 36,000 new homes by that date. It was a goal that the mayor announced in 2019. So if you think about where we are today, we're about 42% through that time period, right? So, and we've got to create 36,000. So since January of 2019, the district has actually delivered 16,550 units of housing. That means on that goal, we're 46% of the way there. So we're 46% of the way there, 42% of the way there in time. We also have a sub-goal within that, and that is something that Tom also alluded to, which is to create more units of affordable housing, 12,000 by 2025. And thus far, we've built, since January 2019, 3,758 units of affordable housing. Now, that is a tremendous achievement, and we should applaud for it. We're at 31% of our goal there, so we have some work to do. But this project contributes to that as well. What we'll cut the ribbon on soon are 39 for-sale units of housing. 30% of those are going to be affordable. So that means 9 of them will be affordable units right on U Street. Right? So that's really important that we do. And that adds to the goal. And Torti Gallas designed them. Also, as the museum moves forward to this space here, we'll create rental housing on the site of the old gym. That'll create an additional 30 units of housing and additional affordable housing as well. So everything that we need for our comeback is actually right here at the old Grimke School. We've got jobs coming back, we got visitors coming back, and we have housing, and particularly we have more affordable housing. So that is what we're celebrating today. Can't thank the team enough. Mayor Bowser mentioned Sarosh. He's assisted by Esther and Patrick and a whole team of people who spend their days sometimes just sending back and forth documents, turns of documents, as we say. But what it manifests itself is what we see behind us. And that's what's so important. So 2 years ago today, we stood here, we all huddled in the gym, and we talked about what this day that was going to come. We never knew what we would face, but it's glad that we have Grimke School where it is today because it'll help us in our comeback. So thank you all for being here today, and I'll bring Mayor Bowser back up for some questions.
Okay, thank you, John and Team DenPed, and we'll take some press questions and any community questions.
Hey, good morning. I'm wondering about a timeline for the African American Museum. Maybe Councilmember Smith could update us on that, when the move would be over to here, and then the timeline for the rental apartments in the rear.
Sure. Let me have Frank come up to address the question about the museum, and I'll have Sarosh or DenPed come up about the housing timelines.
Okay, so we have the owner delivered the space to us as a warm-lit shell on July 2nd. We have our plans are out for bid right now. We have 4 months of construction, so we expect we'll be in there by June of 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you. And once they are out of the gym, we will be able to break ground on the residential, and I believe it'll be about 18 to 24 months for that, the rental.
Thank you, Sarosh. They're both very efficient with words. I have to learn something from those responses.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
Tom Fitzgerald from Channel 5. I got it. A few minutes ago, you had said our diversity is our strength, which is a feeling a lot of people share.
Absolutely.
As you know, there is yet another controversy surrounding D.C. native Dave Chappelle in regards to transphobic jokes that he had made in a recent Netflix special. This has embroiled that streaming service right now. Back in 2017, you presented Mr. Chappelle with a key to the city. I'm curious if you have thoughts on this current controversy, and have you considered rescinding that key to the city based upon what's going on right now regarding Mr. Chappelle's comments on trans people?
I haven't considered rescinding the key to the city, and I regard Dave as a friend and as an artist who is a genius. That doesn't mean I agree with everything he says or how he says it, and I certainly would not attach myself to any transphobic comments. I do, however, look at I had the opportunity to watch it after I heard about some of the controversy, and I saw his show live in D.C. fairly recently, which a lot of that material was also delivered, which has been a package of the Netflix the special. So I think that there were a lot of deep threads of commentary that we should all pay attention to. And we should all be united, and I think Dave would be too, in making sure that we're a city that doesn't accept transphobia or transphobic violence. And that is our deep concern in Washington, violence against trans people, and making sure the opportunities in our city are open to trans people.
If I might follow, Mayor.
Sure.
He's a friend. Have you reached out to them about this to share these thoughts directly with Dave Chappelle?
This isn't new material, Tom, and this is not a new thread of commentary for Dave. So I'm actually not sure why it's kind of drumming up now as an issue, because Dave has been having this conversation with the trans community for a long time. But you would be, I don't think you would understand the whole show. I'm not sure if you've seen it. If you didn't also understand some of the other commentary about race that I think is the underlying thread.
Thank you.
It's not that simple.
So, Mayor, it's an August event, but I'm going to be talking about porta potties. Fred Hill, who has had a contract for porta potties, of course, complained. Eventually was paid, but he just called me and said that the city canceled a number of contracts, he says, as retaliation for his complaining. Is that true?
If we canceled it, we probably don't need it.
Well, my understanding is you don't need it perhaps from him. However, another company called United Site Services apparently replaced him at these various locations.
Well, Sam, I suppose you already recognize how unuseful it is to talk to me about an individual contract when I don't know the details from the podium. And I'm sure Mr. Hill recognizes that too. The appropriate thing for him to do would be to talk to his contract administrator, talk to the agency that he's working with, talk to OCP about more opportunities that would be forthcoming. And I try to fully answer questions when I'm up here. I think that's one of the benefits to me being out in neighborhoods across the city, but I just can't do it on individual issues that I haven't had time to research.
So you did not direct them to change this contract?
Why would I do that?
I don't know.
Okay. No, I did not. Okay.
Mayor Bowser, on politics, if I could, 2 D.C. council members, Robert White, I believe, has filed papers to run for mayor. Trayon White, I believe, has indicated that he intends to run for mayor. Your comments first on the announcement of 2 council members running for mayor, and then if you could update us on your plans for that race.
Well, I have the best job in Washington, D.C. We've been getting a lot done for Washington, D.C. I've enjoyed, because the residents of Washington, D.C. have trusted me to make decisions, to lead through a pandemic. I have enjoyed a fairly long tenure. In fact, many people are often surprised when I say, and I don't typically do tough politics, so I'm going to cut this short, that I was the first mayor elected for a second time in 16 years. So we hadn't had an 8-year mayor in 16 years since Tony Williams. And what that longevity has allowed us is to start and finish a lot of projects, and to have a vision for what comes to the future. So I'll leave it at this, Mark, is that we've gotten a lot done in 8 years. We can do even more in 12 years.
The two council members, your thoughts on them entering the race?
I don't have any comments on for the members of the council. I do think it's important, though. If you've heard me focus a lot on how we're getting back to normal and how the government is getting back to normal. And that's why we've had a very thoughtful return to work plan for government employees who came back for the majority of their work week in July. The council hasn't. They haven't done that. And so I think it's very important for me to focus on the operations of the city. And of course, a political campaign takes some time away from doing that. But that's how elections go. And so we'll get back to you at the appropriate time.
I got to follow up on one thing you just said. And this is about where you are right now on the job. We know you say all the time you have the best job in the world. But is there a sense with you that the pandemic interrupted the mayoralty because of the totality of the job you had to take on to manage this over the last couple of years? Do you think there was more to do that you weren't able to get to because you were rightfully so embroiled in the pandemic?
Yes, I do. You see that? I was more efficient that time. I got it. Only took 3 questions. I'll take a couple community questions.
You want to come here?
Yes. My name is Andrew Anderson from People Preparedness Coalition.
Hi, Andrew.
So there's been a string of issues regarding homeless encampments.
Yes, sir.
There is one that's getting what was on the what was scheduled to be closed today, but they postponed it for issues of relocation. So my question is there any plans on providing or expediting PSH housing vouchers for some of these homeless encampments? Individuals have been waiting on a list for quite a long time. They just recently introduced this pilot program, housing pilot program, to introduce temporary housing. So is there any update or is any immediate changes? Are these people going to get vouchers, or are they just going to be relocated like all the other encampments is being closed?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for recognizing the complexity of it. We work very hard every day, and it has been a hallmark of our tenure to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. And we work hand in hand with the council on our family homelessness system, where we're now seeing a 70% reduction in family homelessness. And soon we'll have short-term family housing facilities in all 8 wards of Washington, D.C. So we know the systemic changes that we've made have made a real difference. And we have that same focus on encampments. And let me be clear what we mean by encampments. We have people living in tents in terrible conditions that have been violent. People have died by acts of violence and by overdose. And having encampments outside does not comport with our law. So we have been very focused on a systemic way to make sure people have access to shelter and to housing. And so we are going through when we will be visiting all of the homeless encampments in the district to make sure that people have access to all of the services, shelter, and housing. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think that's all the questions. Let's cut the ribbon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Please don't block the cameras, please.
Lady with the hat, could you please not block the camera?
Right in front of the camera.
Thank you,
Step
sir.
to the side.
That was the good one, right?
I was in New York.
I remember when they said it.
Ma'am, miss.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
And make sure the camera is the B-roll. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sean, I gotta go out. You good? Hold on, pull it.
Wow. Okay, on the count of 3.